Okay, hi, my name is Shalini Mishra and I've been in a travel trade from last 13 years and here I am with a show where we're going to talk about the real people with the real job and with the real travel story. So today's world when we all struggle to travel from the desk to pantry, we have a guest who has traveled 57 countries. Yes, you heard it right. It's 57 countries. So I'm already very jealous. So let's begin. Hi, welcome Priyank for the show. And I would like to know what you do and how did you made it happen?
Sure. Thanks for calling me, Shalini. So I'm Priyank. I am a corporate professional, been working for over 15 years now. And the journey of traveling goes back to, my childhood when my grandfather, who was a geography teacher and a principal, we used to play these games when we were whenever we got together on the summer vacations. So he would give me to play a place to find out in the atlas, and I would go searching in the atlas and figure out that place, and that gave me joy. And very, very young, 10, 12-year-old, 15-year-old, I used to, imagine about these places while I was growing up. And that thing, I think, uh, sowed a seed in my mind.
Okay.
That I need to step out of the world, step out of the India, out into the world, and find out new places, new adventures.
But
So
tell me, 57 countries we are talking about. So, with the job and the profession and, so span of, we are talking about span of 15 years?
yeah,
And the
more
57
than little
countries?
more than that,
Little more than that?
almost 18 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So I think it's also a bit of luck. I was lucky on that part at times, and most times actually. So I landed up in my early jobs, which had a lot of travel, a lot of international travel, a lot of domestic travel. So that gave me, a lot of time to do it while I was working. While I was on a trip to some country on a work trip, I would extend a few more days and, explore that place. So that gave me a lot of, push in the beginning. Post which I was always interested in traveling. So I picked up photography as an alternate, career passion as well. I started traveling with a lot of travel photographers, wildlife photographers, and that again gave me a lot of motivation to figure out new countries and places. There's a lot of places to offer in the world, so I started traveling that ways. And then, of course, while on the travel journey, I started doing couch surfing, Airbnb, a lot of road trips, and a lot of very unconventional travel. And that, I think, is the journey. How it's like. It's been almost 20 years.
So, the conversation in like the whole story of yours, what excites me more is that, continue or your profession, reaching on some stage. So that excites me. So how did, were you in a like kind of in a 9 to 5 job where you had a bosses where you have to ask for your leaves or something?
Oh, I did for a very long time. I did.
Okay.
So I was in management consulting. So that the nature of the job needs you to travel to a lot of places because your clients are spread across India and outside India. So, but because there's a lot of travel, you can always, extend your weekends or take long weekends. So I had to find out those times from my earlier bosses. And they were supportive in a lot of times because some of them were also travelers. So I think some countries like Mongolia, Southeast Asia, and a lot of these places I did while I was on work travels.
Okay.
So so that helped. Yes, you are.
So basically, you mixed your work and your passion to travel.
So-
and so wherever you've been landing up for the work, you made sure that you're exploring nearby.
There's an interesting anecdote actually here. One incident I remember that whenever I was supposed to go to a country, say for a client visit or say 1 week or a month's worth of work, generally people find the shortest way to travel to that place. I used to do the reverse. I used to find the longest way to go to that place.
Oh, so this is very
And
exciting.
maximum transit countries in between.
Oh.
For example, if I have to go to London from Mumbai,
So
so Mumbai to London direct flight bhi hai.
correct.
I would never take that. So I would either go via Gulf or via somewhere so that I can, squeeze in some time in
Acha.
between. And I mean, 48 hours, 72 hours are enough to explore one city.
So airport
So-
explore करते थे या city भी?
City.
मतलब-
48 to 72 hours. In fact, Gulf gives you
हाँ.
4 days of visa. Similarly,
हाँ.
China gives you some 48 hours of visa. And some other countries, they used to give in different 2 to 3 days of visa. So one city is good enough to explore it sometimes in 2 to 3 days.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
So I used to find out time in between.
So the
like that.
trick is that wherever you are heading it for the work, try to do the maximum routing so that we can explore the other thing, other
and
places.
find out places which gives you visa easily.
Which gives you a visa easily on the transit visa. All right, that's so interesting about it. So, if you can just name your 57 countries, which is more than my yearly leaves, so that would be very interesting.
It's going to be tough, but it's been long. I have actually counted, but let me attempt.
Yeah.
Starting with Asia, we have India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, China, Mongolia, Indonesia, Thailand, of course, the usuals. Now, moving to Europe, I have done Denmark, Netherlands, UK, Ireland, which is one of my favorites. Germany, Spain, and a couple of others in the Eastern Europe. Romania, which was my first ever country that I went out of India.
Wow.
Then coming to Africa, I have done Egypt and Morocco. Planning to go to South Africa, and I haven't done it yet. Then in North America, I've been to US, Canada, and yeah, I think that's pretty much Australia. I haven't been yet. Yeah.
Okay. So pretty much you have covered. I mean, like, and pretty much is still
It's mostly
left.
Europe and Asia,
Okay.
and a little bit of Africa and North America. Yeah.
Okay. So I also want to know that you just have mentioned this, like, you wanted to, if you have unlimited money, assume we have unlimited money and we have a 1 month. So which is the country you would like to explore and why you want to explore that country?
So it'll be more like a continent, and that will be South America. South America is a fascinating continent, which has been I've been reading about it right from the Motorcycle Diaries, the Che Guevara the stories that I used to read as a teenager, and later it's always inspired me. I feel that place has amazing food, amazing culture. All of the countries are very different from each other. So but it takes a lot of time because it's so far from India. So it'll take a good almost 2 days to reach, and then spend a lot of time within the continent exploring at least a week to 10 days in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Panama, all of those places, Colombia. So I would love to do to South America if I had a month or more.
Oh, lovely. So another very interesting thing coming on my head, like, are you vegetarian, non-vegetarian?
I am primarily a vegetarian, but I do eat chicken and seafood. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So is there, I mean, like, have you ever felt, because in travel, I felt like, when people travel or I travel, like 10 days is fine. After that, I have a craving of having my own food and, my comfort food or things like that. So how did you manage? I mean, like, because you're saying that you have months and months you were out. And so how did you manage your fooding thing? And is there any country where you say that मैं यहाँ कभी नहीं जाऊंगा यार, यहाँ का खाना कभी नहीं खाना मुझे, something like that on the food part?
So fortunately, when I started traveling, I was 18, and Romania was the first country I stepped out. And I used to be a complete vegetarian until that time. Yeah, until 18, I was a full vegetarian. Right after, of course, I turned to a partial non-vegetarian, I would say, chicketarian, if there is a word like that. In Romania, I started my cooking experiments. Those were the days when I was staying in an international hostel with a lot of students, and I used to call my mother back home to ask ये कैसे बनाना है,
राजमा कैसे बनता है?
Exactly. So that was one of the things that I used to ask. In fact, a funny incident was that rajma मैं रात को भिगाना भूल गया, and the next day I put it in the cooker, and I'm thinking, why isn't this getting soft? Like 1 घंटा हो गया अभी तक soft ही नहीं हो रहा. And then I called back home and told my mom, what the hell is this rajma? Why is it getting soft? इतना देर हो गया cooker में. And then she said, did you soak it? I was like, no. Soak भी करना होता है क्या? So that was, it started from that to I now make a lot of food myself.
So another punchline would be that कि जो मम्मी नहीं सिखा पाई वो travel ने सिखा दिया, है ना? तो another learning of the travel, another thing, what we can really think of it. Nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, so what would be your out of all the continents that you have traveled to, what is like now let's talk about which is the place has really not excited, has like surprised you, like you've traveled, you underrated or you overrated that place, but that place have surprised you.
Okay, let's talk. I've talked about world. Let's talk about India a little bit now.
Oh, lovely.
So I think MP was one state which I probably underestimated or didn't read about.
Yes, and I think most of us have underestimated MP.
Yeah, and I didn't read much about, but a couple of years ago, I think just before COVID, is when I got a chance to explore MP properly. Uske pehle I've been only to Indore and Ujjain for more religious purposes, but the proper exploration happened just before COVID, and I did this 4 places trip, which was Bandhavgarh, Panna, Khajuraho, and
lovely.
Orcha and Gwalior. So I went to these places, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the kind of experiences they had to offer. At one time there was very rustic experience.
Correct.
But on the other hand, it was very luxury also.
Yes, of course.
I went.
All the wildlife lodges, I would say, they are super luxury. And MP is full of that.
Yeah.
The Page, Panna. I mean, I feel that the MPs are full of that.
Yeah. So I wasn't aware.
Okay.
I didn't expect it to be so good. And I think I would love to go again and do some other sides of MP. But Orcha especially, it surprised me a lot because they have a rafting experience.
Yes.
It's a historical heritage rafting.
Correct.
On that Betwa River, on the
Betwa
both
River.
sides of the river, they have historical monuments.
Yeah.
And they take you on a boat, and then they tell you the stories of these monuments. And they have this Orcha Chhatri, and then there is a Ram Mandir there, and everything was amazing. Yeah.
Yes. So the kind of, I think these places takes you to, the history and the story, and somehow we all relate. Being an Indian, we relate.
Yeah.
And that's where we, it's really exciting. I can understand that you must be overwhelmed that, मैं यहाँ पहले क्यों नहीं आया? Why I have not traveled? And most of us, I think, and that's why probably now the tourism say MP is your heart, Okay, let's talk about, because I think we're all very Bollywood inspired people, so on the travel part. So, आपके साथ कुछ ऐसी travel की stories हैं which can really take out the Bollywood content, like you met somebody and there was a story or there was something you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I think there's one. This is in US. I was there for my MBA purposes, and I was traveling with a friend of mine. We both were, perfect travel buddies and used to go on long road trips.
Wow.
So we decided, and this is, mind you, I was still a student. It had to be a little budget friendly also. More than a decade ago. So this guy and I, we thought, okay, we'll rent a car, and it's very easy to rent a car in the US and drive around. It's also economical. So I and him, we both rented a car, and we said, okay, let's go on an entire East Coast road trip.
Achha.
Right from Maine in the north of US to Florida in the south of US.
Achha.
There are many states along the coast, and we said, let's do this.
Achha.
Entire US.
Okay.
East Coast and West Coast also later we did it, but East Coast we started with.
Okay.
And so the planning of it and how we did it was very, very inspirational in a way for us also back then, because of course we had limited budget. और हमारे पास इतना time भी नहीं था कि because middle of the college we had to do it. So we had a couple of weeks, say maybe 3 weeks we had to do this. And between both of us we said, okay, let's find out. And this was the Facebook days. Those were the Facebook days. Like Facebook was more popular. Instagram didn't exist. And so we went on Facebook, and between me and him, we found out who are the friends, family, relatives, थोड़ा भी जान पहचान वाले लोग across in the US. So the major concern was कि इतनी जगह जा रहे हैं, एक तो budget constraint है. We cannot take hotels everywhere. Like so let's.
मतलब कार रेंट कर ली है.
कार रेंट कर लिया है.
अब देखते हैं कि कहाँ रुकना है.
हाँ. So we actually went about finding on Facebook कि जुगाड़ तो कौन-कौन से शहर में हमारे लोग हैं.
Okay.
So between me and him, we could find out about 7-8 places where we had people, some ex-college mates, some friends, relatives, etc. And then
Bua, Nani, Dadi, all the relatives.
Yeah, relative side, cousins जिनको कभी पहले हाय बोला होगा 5 साल पहले उनको आज हाय बोल रहे. So stuff like that. So we wrote a small content piece where we said that कि हम ये करने वाले हैं और we just need a couch to crash in the night.
Wow.
So we don't want to be disturbing your space, but we will be crossing your city, and we just need a place to crash. And of course we can take you out for dinner, or we'll spend some good time together. So everybody was in fact very, very encouraging and welcoming to us. And in that process, I think that made it a lot of fun because we added a lot of personalized experience to that. Correct. We added people who actually loved or cared about us at some point of time. And of course met a lot of strangers on the way as well. So वो experience एक बहुत ही beautiful था. And by the end of it, some of my American classmates, they used to say कि तुमने अमेरिका हमसे ज़्यादा देखा है.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Both of us, we have definitely seen more US than a typical American.
हाँ, so ये तो इंडियन के साथ भी होता है ना, हम लोगों के साथ भी होता है. There are people comes and stay in our country for say that 2 months or 3 months, and they have seen more India than us.
Yeah,
It does
sure.
happen like
Yeah,
that way because in spite of having a regular job, how did you manage to get the leaves? How did you manage to make your financials, the budgets, the plannings, and have you ever traveled like most of your travel was solo or it was with your partner or a family? How did you manage that? So the first thing is that how did you manage your leaves? What you used to do with that?
Sure. So, yeah, it's all started about 20 years ago, as I said, or even more with my parents when I was a kid. But those were mostly domestic travels. And back then, money, of course, I wasn't earning. So my dad was the sponsor.
Okay.
But he used to tell me like every year, this is the week in summers mostly. And as a 13, 14-year-old, he used to tell me, you are my travel agent. I used to be my family's travel agent.
Okay.
And I used to, there was no internet. So I used to read Discovery books. There was a book called Lonely Planet. I used to read that extensively that time. And look at a lot of places, call up these hotels myself, call up the taxi drivers myself as a teenager, and make all those bookings, make train bookings and all of those things. So that gave me a lot of confidence when I was growing up as a 13, 14-year-old or 12-year-old to plan a trip for a family for a week without my dad even looking at it. And he used to he used to tell me, एक हफ्ता है, इतना budget है,
Acha.
plan करो सब कुछ खुद से.
Okay.
And then I used to do that. And it used to give me a kick, that I'm able to manage it.
Okay.
There were some, of course, bad experiences, some great experiences. Sometimes hotels used to be shit. Sometimes it used to be very good. Sometimes taxi wala nahi aaya. So it used to happen.
Okay.
But ultimately, I got a lot of confidence while doing it.
Great.
And after that, when I started on my own, money, whatever I was earning, thankfully, my family, they did not, I didn't have to support them financially. So I had my own money to, do whatever I want. So that led to, I was fortunate enough to use a lot of that constructively on my traveling. And right from the beginning, I was reading about these people. I used to find out these travel hacks also, the travel hacks in terms of what are the best credit card, what are the best ways to, gain miles, what are the importance of loyalty points of airlines, of hotels. So I kept accumulating those over the years, and all my spends I used to, do on those cards so that everything everything gets on the miles. In fact, I used to discourage people to use UPI. कि ये GPay पे मत करो. मैं family में बोलता था सब कुछ card पे करो. So that whatever is getting spent, you are earning some miles out of it, and then ultimately we'll use it for the travel. So those are some of the early hacks that I realized very, very soon. That used to give me a lot of free flights, a lot of discounted, subsidized flights when I was traveling. Plus, as I already said, that while I was working, I used to convert my work trips, extend them to personal travel. So half of it is covered by the work because you've already reached there, and now the second half you have to cover it yourself. So if you plan it smartly, you are able to extend that. Then regarding the leaves, I think because I used to club it with work travels, so that was one of the ways I used to hack it, plan extended duration flights. Second hack. Third thing I used to do, take my leaves more smartly, use long weekends smartly, and like try to sandwich 2-3 places together.
Okay.
Make a very nice network and circuit so that you fly in at a point A and you fly out of a point B, so that you don't waste time coming back to point A.
Correct.
So those network planning used to help saving time. The route planning was very important. Yes.
Okay.
Nowadays, of course, ChatGPT and Perplexity, they do it like this.
Yeah, but they still do a lot of bug.
Yeah.
I mean, me being a travel planner, I know it.
I'm sure.
They are
but a lot of network planning was important.
But framework they do give.
Yeah,
yes, I will agree with that.
Exactly. So network planning is very important if you want to save.
Probably when you're talking about the hacks are the using your credit card properly, being very educated about hotel miles, the credit cards, and then probably calendars. Like your leave calendars. You're clubbing the leave calendars.
Weekends, figuring out if you can plan it around your work travel, extend it sometimes.
And how did you manage the local travel? Like there should be, I mean, like, is there any app or some local thing, or what do you suggest?
So I've been extensively using Skyscanner since a long time, and Skyscanner had this beautiful feature which a lot of others have now, like anytime, anywhere. Which is basically if you have an open calendar, and you don't know where you want to go, so you put your source city, for example, Bangalore, and it'll tell you across the world which are the best seasons or the best months in which there are flight deals going on.
Oh,
And then basis the deal, you book the place.
book the places.
So
So
ulta karo.
of course, because the most of the travel, when we plan, the major content, a major portion is your tickets. So first figure out the tickets that which destination at this time when I'm planning to travel are coming at the deal price.
At the deal price.
At the deal price.
I've been to Europe at 35,000 return flight.
Yes. So, no, even I've done the Eastern Europe at 35,000. So yes, and it was about that only. So basically a planning, because in the travel, as a travel planner, of course I can say about it, in a when you're planning a travel, the major part goes in your ticketing, but it has to be a vice versa. I feel the ticketing should be the 30% and the rest has to be the 70%. Whereas nowadays when the people plan their travel, the tickets are 70%, the rest is 30%, which is not giving them a good pleasure, and that's not a good planning. True. So as per your suggestions, and I feel that figure out the ticketing first with the app help or things like that, and then probably plan your travel.
Sure. Yes.
And the applications or things which you use for the local travel, what was that?
So generally I use a lot of public transport, and I also do road trips. So the moment I used to land to the airport, I have an IDP, International Driving Permit. I rented a car from 60 Avis, a lot of portals.
Okay.
And that if you have
That's an easy process?
It's a very easy process. You just need an international driving permit, which you get it if you have a local license. So people do think that it can be difficult driving on the left side.
No, people also think that's very expensive. As in a solo traveler, if you hire a car,
as a solo, it can get expensive at times.
So if you're traveling with a couple of people, then it is.
If the best is like if you have a group of 3 to 4, you have 4, and then you can all get into one car easily, and you can have a common destination, and your costs get split.
Okay.
So that's like a optimal group to travel at times. 4 or 6 people can get a bigger car.
Okay.
So that is very helpful. And because then you are saving a lot of money on taxis.
Correct.
You're saving a lot of money and time also. In fact, if you don't like a
transit from one place to one place and one airport to another airport on a domestic traveling, when you're doing it, it really saves a lot. And of course, the road travel is very exciting.
And people a lot of time think that it will be difficult to drive on the left side of the road compared to India. On the right side of the road compared to India as the left side. But it's not that difficult. I mean, in my experience, I mean, your brain and the mind, it gets used to it in say half an hour of driving.
Lovely.
So that is something I have always been doing that. I have driven in more than 40-50 countries now.
Oh, nice. Nice. So how about, like you said that you have an international driving permit, but then how easy and what are the process to get the international driving?
It's very easy. There are websites. There's IDP website. And if you have a local driving license, you can
before the travel we should do this?
Yeah, before the travel, at least 10 days before.
Okay.
So that you have enough time, because they send you a soft copy and then they send you a hard copy by courier. Soft copy is also fine in a lot of countries, but some countries do not accept soft copies.
So do you need anything on that, like the documentation? Do you need like ticketing or stays and all that stuff?
Some of the documents you need, like I think which country you're going to, your local driving license. If the local driving license has some restrictions that you are a 4-wheeler driver, but you can't drive a larger vehicle, for example RV, or if you want to take an RV, then it may have a different license altogether. So like that, so you have to declare those things, and then they give you IDP. And a lot of countries are comfortable if you show them IDP and your local license together.
Okay. That's great. Moving ahead, so let's talk about your worst experience to be there in the country, like which you really feel that ये नहीं ही होना चाहिए था, and this happened because अगर मैं ऐसा कर लेता तो ऐसा नहीं होता. So is there any worst experience which you talk about it? I know we've spoken about a lot of good experience.
Probably this year. I just remember it's fresh also. So this January I went to Abu Dhabi for a Coldplay concert.
Acha, it's a very famous, famous Coldplay concert.
So I went to Coldplay concert, and I somehow sandwiched that concert in between a tour, like I always do. Like if I have a short-term assignment at some place outside India, I would say कि अरे उतना दूर जा रहे हैं तो और भी कर लेते हैं. So the Coldplay concert was happening in Abu Dhabi, and I said कि I'll be there for 2 days anyways. So let me find out a country where I've not been, and I can just, Abu Dhabi anyways gives you a 48 hours transit visa or 96 hours transit visa. So I planned a trip to Jordan.
Oh,
And and this was a very unusual time because Jordan is right now next to Israel, and
yeah, okay.
war is happening
Okay.
on that side of the world. And it's very controversial. A lot of people are not going to Jordan. Jordan is actually suffering with tourism. They have tourism as a major source of revenue, and people are not coming there. So the roads are empty, hotels are empty, but it's safe. I mean, I took, of course, a little bit of risk. A lot of people told me not to do,
So
but
it
I
was
was like,
solo or it was with
no, it was with family
friend?
and a couple of
Oh.
people. Yeah. So then, so I went to Jordan, and I ended up taking something called a Jordan Pass. So Jordan Pass is like it's like a pass to go to a couple of their historical sites, which is Petra and other UNESCO heritage sites, and the visa. So they have clubbed it and made it a like a bundle, so that
Okay.
you pay a discounted price instead of buying all the tickets separately.
Okay.
And you take that Jordan Pass and you go, and then you declare at the airport, and then you walk out.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, it's going to be very smooth. So I bought that. And little did I know that, so my flight landed in Jordan, Amman at 5 a.m. And I was stepped out of it, and then I was like, okay, let's go to the line. And then the official said, you want a visa. And for India, there's a visa on arrival in Jordan.
Yeah.
So it's anyways easy.
Acha.
But this Jordan Pass was like clubbing all of it together with a discount. So I took that. Then the official said कि अच्छा आपके पास वीजा नहीं है, आपको वीजा चाहिए तो आपकी इस लाइन में लगो, और आपके पास जॉर्डन पास है तो उस लाइन में लगो.
ठीक
So
है.
I got into the Jordan Pass line.
ठीक है.
And there were 3 more Indians with me, and we reached there at the official's gate, and then the official said, the officer who checks this, he's not in yet.
Okay.
And I'm like, what do you mean?
Huh.
So he said, yeah, it's 5:30 a.m. What do you expect? And we were like, it's an international airport, right?
Yeah.
You know that, right? So what do you expect? I expect somebody to be there.
Correct.
I have the necessary document.
Yeah.
I need to step out. So they said, no, you'll have to wait.
And
They made us wait for the next 6 to 7 hours.
oh my God.
It was horrifying. I had the booking to the day. I was supposed to drive to Wadi Ram for my stay that night, which was like a 4-hour drive from there.
God.
And the next 6 hours, nobody turned up. And then in fact, the security guys were joking. They were like, oh, our officer must be now getting up. He must be having breakfast. He must be dropping his kids to school after that.
And that to the country which were dying for the tourists.
Exactly. So that was like that was a hilarious, at the same time disappointing experience, because my whole day got wasted.
Correct.
And a lot of time and money got wasted because of that
Correct.
reason. And finally that guy turned up at 11:30 a.m. after waiting for so long, and then he took his own sweet time to clear it. And although the experience started worse, but it started getting better as we entered the country.
But the country is
the country is
beautiful.
amazing.
Country is amazing.
Country is amazing. It's mind blowing.
Okay.
But my first impression was this:
Correct.
where have I come? It's an amazing country.
Okay.
Please do check that Jordan Pass is still valid or not.
Yeah.
But my experience was it's better not to take Jordan Pass.
Yeah. So even my experience on
or
that
if you're
part.
taking a Jordan Pass.
So to continue this, so which is the country, you feel that it is really overrated, or a place, let's talk about the country or a place or domestic, international, which is like super overrated, and you felt that, no, yaar, I would have done it in the lesser price in the better place, maybe the nearest and all that thing. So
Yeah,
if you want to talk about it.
definitely Paris.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, of course, I'd heard a lot, and of course, so many things about Paris, minus the Eiffel Tower and a couple of places. But I think the overall experience wasn't that great for me when I was there. This was almost like 7-8 years ago. And of course, it's very crowded. It's not as clean.
Yes. I have heard this. I have heard this from the couple of people.
Yeah. I had a very different image of Paris before I went to Paris. And I was like, oh, this is like
Not really.
maybe a little more modern Mumbai.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, but of course, not belittling anything that it has to offer. There's great architecture, great food, but the overall experience was not as I imagined.
Okay, so let's talk about the cheapest, amazing, memorable trip you're able to pull off.
So this was when I was doing backpacking trips. This is like almost 15 years ago.
How?
And I did it in Gujarat, actually, not outside India.
Okay.
I don't have to go to far places. It was a 1-week long trip and started from Ahmedabad. I went for a wedding, a friend's wedding, and started from there. Then I came from Ahmedabad to Somnath, Diu. Then I took a state transport bus to Porbandar. From there I went to Dwarka. From there I went to Jamnagar. From there I went to Kutch. I spent 3 days in Kutch.
And you exit from?
And I came back by train to Ahmedabad. So in Kutch, I lived for 3 days, and I used to have this. I still do, but I had this big DSLR camera. And so one of the taxi drivers, he thought I'm a journalist. And I said, yeah, I'm a journalist too. So then he actually got very excited, and he took me to those, hinterlands inside the villages of Kutch.
Where
a lot of people
tribes and
different tribes. A lot of people are not allowed there. So that one.
Kutch is amazing in that. Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of that. Plus, I did a lot of hitchhiking in Gujarat, which is unusual in India. Nobody does hitchhiking in India. But I did that. Somehow I was able to, pull it off. I know. Nice. People are nice. So I did some hitchhiking, and but that was like pure out of because I had done it in Europe. Like India mein bhi karke dekhte. So it was more from that point of view. But it turned out to be fun, and I actually made some friends who I'm still in touch.
Correct.
So from that time.
Okay, I want to talk about that. Lately, I think we're off camera. We were talking about, and we were talking about this. Your cultural shock. One of the travel you had this cultural. A shock kind of a thing when you were traveling. You want to talk about it when you were traveling to the Kerala for some wedding? Yeah. What was that?
If my friend is watching this, he will laugh. So yeah. So I have one of my very close friends. He's a Malayali. And we were in college together, and I graduated from college, and I was probably 21 that time. And I have grown up in North India most of my life. So the culture that I related to was North India. North Indian weddings are little, grandiose, loud and grandiose, colorful. So I was invited to his sister's wedding in Trivandrum. And this was my first South Indian wedding ever. I never been to one. So I packed accordingly. Ki theek hai, thode colorful clothes, whatever, some shadi wale kurta hai, ya phir waise thoda fancy clothes. I packed accordingly, and and the shadi was at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. something like that in the morning. And that was also new for me.
Unlike North Indians,
I've never seen such a wedding. I was like, theek hai, subah chale jayenge, and it was followed by lunch. So I got ready. I was staying in a hotel, and I reached the venue. And when I reached the venue from outside, I was like, what the hell? Like everybody was wearing like a white shirt and a white moon, very simply dressed. And I'm like, mujhe dula samajh lenge. Like, because I was overdressed. I was wearing a nice sherwani style, some
full colorful
sherwani style, something like how we wear in North. And I felt so out of place, like a joker. Of this, I didn't enter, and I just called my friend and I could see him on the balcony. Then I saw him. What is he wearing? I saw that even he is wearing the similar thing. I just turned around and went back to the hotel. I went to the hotel, and I was struggling to find out what's the most normal stuff that I'm carrying. Like, I actually wore a office ka shirt and jeans, and I came to the venue.
And then
and by the time the wedding was over, because Malayali weddings, right? It's like half an hour done. So by the time in an hour I got back, the wedding was over. The lunch was served.
Oh, lovely.
And then
so that was amazing.
That was like a big cultural shock for me. I was like, wow, what is this?
And I mean, like, diversity.
I was like, mujhe dula samajh lenge sab. That must be funny. Yeah.
So also, okay, so maybe which is the place or the country you visited, and you felt like a shift in your life, like maybe the travel or the people or the place have really given you something, enlightening you, or I mean, like anything about it, like which have really shifted you, which have really gave a change in your life. So which was that, and what was that change?
Okay, so I think this is a very recent one that I am going to talk about. And a lot of my friends have been asking me about it as well. Although I'm not a very religious person personally, my parents are. However, I wanted to take them on a spiritual retreat. So we, just 2 months ago, we went on a helicopter yatra to Chardham in Uttaranchal. And followed by a solo trip that I did at Rishikesh as a retreat. And I think I found a lot of peace on that trip. A lot of things that I had actually imagined that happens in a certain way. It actually came to my mind that you need to question a lot of things.
Oh.
And some very, very basic existential stuff like fitness. I ignored my fitness for the longest time. And after coming back from there, plus retreat, staying in an ashram, looking at lifestyle of a lot of people who have gone through so many things, hearing those stories, and just some shift happened in my mind. And I was like, okay, this was a trigger probably I needed. I have been contemplating and planning to do it since long, but now is the time. And I think that trigger has happened. So that particular trip was, I believe, in the recent time, quite life-changing. There have been a couple of more in past, but this is the most recent one. I picked up, meditation, picked up a little bit of spirituality, fitness, most probably, most prominently actually. Lost a lot of weight in the last 2 months. So yeah, I think that trip has changed, I believe.
Wow, nice. So good. So I mean, like, finally you found out a place which has shifted you. It's our own country.
Yeah. We have everything.
Lovely. We have everything.
We have everything.
Lovely. Great. So now to just so what is your next list like? What is your upcoming list of a travel?
So I have 4-5 countries in my mind already. So Japan.
Okay. Japan is
Japan has been on my mind ever since.
Yes.
But never been there.
Yes.
South Africa is another, because I'm an adventure lover. I love adventurous trips. I love most adventure sports that people do. I've been fortunate enough to have tried some of them and enjoyed it a lot. And South Africa is one very adventurous country. So I want to go to South Africa. I want to go to Japan. I want to do New Zealand for 2 weeks. New Zealand is another adventure road trip, road trip country which you can go to a lot of places. So yeah, so I think these three are top of my mind. Yeah.
Great. So actually, Priyank gives me a lot of vibe of Bunny, of Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, you being a bunny. Did you ever felt like that you were playing that character, or that character has played you?
So yeah, I mean, my friends have joked about this long ago, and I had not seen that movie for a very long period of time.
Okay.
Even after I was told about that movie.
Okay.
But some of the life was definitely similar in terms of traveling places and exploring as a photographer.
So tell me about your Mongolia experience.
Oh, Mongolia was a life-changing experience, if I must say. This was more than a decade ago again. I was on an assignment, a work assignment, very unusual place to go for a work assignment, but I was there on a trip to for a project for about 4 months. I was part of a mining project and stationed in middle of Gobi Desert in Mongolia, which is the world's coldest desert. We read about it in geography books. I had read about it as a child with my grandfather while I was growing up, and when I heard that there's a project in Gobi Desert, I was like, I will go. And a lot of people don't want to go because of the harsh conditions, but for me it was exotic, and I was like, abhi nahi to kabhi nahi, ab to jana hi padega. And so I bagged that opportunity to go for that project. And 4 months while being there, the place touches -45, -50 in winters. I have personally seen and worked in -25. The stays were in these luxury camps called gurs, because we were in the middle of a desert and there was no hotel to be placed there. But working with 70, 80 nationalities stationed there, working with them in such conditions in a very raw form was a mind-blowing experience. And I picked up photography as an alternate career while there. So there used to be frequent lightning strikes, and one fine day I was like, I need to click it. So I ended up positioning myself at a vantage point and looking at that place where the lightning used to strike frequently, and I did get some amazing shots, and some of these pictures were also published in some places. So so that was one life-changing experience.
Wow. So of course the travel really inspires you, teaches you, and I think after some time you become an addict of it. You have an addiction of being in travel.
I'm happy I travel. I'm sad I travel. I'm overwhelmed by travel. I'm anxious on travel.
Yes. I have felt that I'm happy when I travel, when I'm sad when I'm travel, when I'm overwhelmed I travel, when I have to explore something I travel. So yes. So nice. So thank you so much. I mean, it's really an insight, Priyank. It was fun.
Pleasure to be
here. Thank you, Priyank, for your time, and you have come from well and dur. तो बहुत दूर से आप आए, तो thank you so much for your time. It was really interesting to talk to you.
Good to be here. And I think one last thing for the viewers, travel is about the journey, as they say, right? It's not about the destination. I think that's very important to believe in that, because the experiences around the travel and during the travel, I think they are more fun than the destination itself. So I've always believed in that. And like, yeah, I mean, don't be scared. World is a good place.
Wow. Thank you. So, guys, that was our show. So, we sat down with Priyank, a corporate guy with a real job, and the real person with a real job, I must say, like that way. And it has amazing, inspiring travel stories, which actually made me jealous. And if the same time you guys are jealous, so plan your trip and book your ticket with your travel agent. Thank you.